Okay, so here we have our program with our 9 Maryland images created. Okay, note that they have been created in the program but not added to the window. So that's what this video is going to show you how to do. Okay, so let's just look at the end program really quickly. And we can see we have the 9 images positioned on the window in this almost grid-like formation. And notice there is a margin around all 4 sides too. So that will come into play when we're positioning these pictures. Also notice that every Maryland picture is perfectly square and there is no space in between the pictures as far as we can see. So let's, with that in mind, I'll show you how to add our first picture to the graphics window. Now, let me preface this by saying there are really 3 ways that we are going to work with images in this class. This way that we're using in this program is the simplest and easiest, but it has its limitations. This method that we're using is we can use if the image is just going to sit there and not do anything, which is exactly what these 9 pictures do. You run the program, it shows the window, the images don't move or anything, they're just sitting there in their original spots the whole time. So you can use this easy way, but you're not going to get any animation from this technique. So in our next program, our next example, then we'll talk about moving images. So this is just one of 3 ways, and this is the way that we can use to put just a quick, easy, static image on our window. So just to explain something here, when we're positioning images on the window, we're using a coordinate system. Okay, so I have a picture here, and if you can imagine this, the upper left of the window is like the 0, 0 position. In that, you know, we have an x-axis and a y-axis. It's almost like being in a math class where you have the 4 quadrants, but it's a little different because, you know, in a math class, when the y-axis goes, you know, heads downward on the page, so to speak, then the y becomes negative. But that's not the case here when you're plotting coordinates on a graphics window. So I'm in the 0, 0 position in the very upper left of this window. When I move over this way, the x values increase. Okay, and the highest x value on this window is 400, right? Because we made this window 400 by 400. Okay, so let's say this is 0, 0. Somewhere like right here, I'm eyeballing it in the middle. We're at about 200, and y is 0. Right here where my cursor is, y is still 0. And then over here, we'd be at about 400, comma 0. All right. Now with the y's, this is the 0 way up at the top, but as I move down, those y values increase, unlike a math class. So the y's are increasing. So right here, y would be at about 200. If I'm on the very left edge, x is 0, but y is about 200. And then down at the bottom, x is 0, y is 400. All right. And then over here, what would the coordinates be? X would be 400, and y would be 400. If we were right smack in the middle, say, x would be 200, y would be 200, and so on. So this is the coordinate system that we use. So with that in mind, let's add our first Maryland picture to the window. Okay, so here we go. We're going to say graphics window dot draw resized image. Draw resized image. This will give us control over where the image is placed and also the exact size, the width and the height of the image. So notice this, we have the image name that we're drawing, That's what I'll provide first. And then the x coordinate, the y coordinate, the width of the image, and the height of the image. So that is what I have to provide to the program when I'm positioning an image. So first we have the image name. We'll just start with the MM1. That was the first, and you know, these are the image names. Those are the names I chose when I created the images and brought them in. Different from these are the file names. But now the images, the files have been brought into our program. You know, the images from the files have been read into our program, I should say, or located by our program. And now all we're going to use is the name to represent the image. So this is out of the picture. You just have to type the actual file names in quotes once, all right, and type them correctly. Otherwise, they won't, you know, they'll be missing and you won't see the images when you run the program. And then from that point forward, when we're referring to the Marylands, we're referring to them by the names that we gave them, MM1, MM2, without the quotes. So we'll say MM1, and we have first the X position. Okay, now let me look at the end product here. Okay, so what is the X position? This is MM1. How far is she from the left edge? That will dictate the X position that we use. So I'll give it about 50. That's probably a margin of about 50. Okay, so we'll say her X position is 50, her X coordinate is 50, and then you know what? It looks like the Y would be 52. That looks like about equal distance. So the Y will make around 50. Okay, and then she is perfectly square. We'll make her 100 by 100. So that's 100 in width and 100 in height, 100 pixels. So, you know, I want you to remember this pattern because we'll be using this a lot. We have, you know, the name of the image first, all these 5 things in parentheses. I mean, looking at them, it's very confusing. What is what? You know, what's a coordinate? What's the size? It goes name, the X coordinate, the Y coordinate, the width, and then the height. Okay, so X, Y, width, and height. X, Y, width, and height. That's the pattern. So if you remember that, the X, the Y, the width, and the height of the image. Okay, so let's test it. We'll see if it worked out. Okay, and there she is. Okay, so what if I want to move on and put MM2 right next to her? Right next to her. Okay, well, we can copy this. All right, now, what changes? Here's MM1, here's MM2. Really, the only thing that changes, we have the name, so we'll have to change the name to MM2, and also it's really the X value. So whereas this Maryland was about 50 pixels in, this Maryland is 150. Do you see where I got 150? We have the 50 originally, and then 100 is the width of this Maryland, and we have to clear her in order to add the second Maryland. The Y is the same, so I'm just going to change that to MM2. We said the X is 150. The Y is the same, and of course the sizes are going to be the same all across the board. Okay? And there she is. We'll just add a couple more. Okay, MM3 is going to be, so we have 50, 100, and 50, 250, because she was also 100 pixels wide. So we'll say 250 for MM3 as the X coordinate. Alright, now we have the top row all in place. Okay, we'll do one more and then it's going to get repetitive. Okay, so MM4. Let's add a Maryland. Let's add this one, the blue one that's kind of washed out looking. So her X coordinate will be the same as MM1, the red one right above her, right? Because she's 50 pixels from the left edge. So this is MM4, we'll say, and she is 50 pixels from the left edge, so we have to change that. Now what changes here? The y coordinate. The MM1 was 50 from the top. In fact, all three of these were 50 from the top. But this one is going to be 50 plus 100, which is the height of the Marilyn above her that we have to clear. So we have 50 from the top and then 100 here, so that'll be 150 for the y value. Okay, and there she is. Now we'll do one more, because this one is probably the one that goes here. We have to change both the x and y, so we have to be careful there. So we'll do one more, and that'll be the center Marilyn. Okay, so what would be the x value here? Well, we have 50, right, for the margin, and then we have 100 for this Marilyn that we have to clear. Alright, so that'll be 150. Okay, and then the y is also 150 because we have 50 from the top margin and then the height of the Marilyn above her that we have to clear. So we'll put that at 150. So that should do it. Okay, and then, like I said, the rest of it will be repetitive. So that's your first experience in adding an image and positioning it on the window. And again, I want you to remember it's the X position, the Y position, the width, and the height. Always in that order. X, Y, width, height.